My name is Arthur, and I'm 58 years old. For 30 years, Elizabeth was my wife. 3 decades. It's a number that sounds monumental, a lifetime, really. We met in our 20s, fresh out of college, full of naive optimism and boundless energy. I was an engineer, practical and methodical, always building, always fixing. She was an interior designer, creative and vibrant, with an eye for beauty and a flair for making spaces come alive. We were, by all accounts, a power couple. We built a beautiful life together, a sprawling home filled with art and laughter, a testament to our shared dreams and hard work. We navigated career successes and setbacks, supported each other through family illnesses, and celebrated every milestone, big or small. We had 2 wonderful children, now grown and independent, who were the absolute pride of our lives. Our bond felt unbreakable, forged in the fires of shared experience and mutual respect. Or so I believed, with every fiber of my being, right up until the day my world shattered. Elizabeth had always been a strong personality, assertive, and accustomed to getting her way. In our partnership, it usually manifested as her taking the lead on social engagements or making bold design decisions for our home. I admired her confidence, her drive. I was content to be the steady anchor, the quiet support system behind her dazzling exterior. Financially, we were quite successful. My engineering career had provided a very comfortable living, and Elizabeth's design firm had flourished, bringing in a substantial income. All our assets, bank accounts, investments, properties, retirement funds, were meticulously managed and held in joint names. We had always prided ourselves on our transparency and shared financial goals. We spoke often of retirement, of traveling the world, of building a legacy for our children. Our wealth was a symbol of our shared journey, our collective effort. The first cracks, subtle and insidious, began to appear in our foundation about 2 years ago. Elizabeth started changing. Her assertiveness morphed into an aggressive demandingness. Her vibrant energy, which once seemed directed towards our shared life, now felt entirely consumed by her own desires. Her new social circle of high-flying clients and younger, flashier acquaintances. She became dismissive of my opinions, impatient with my quiet nature. Our conversations dwindled, replaced by her monologues about her latest client, her newest acquisition, her exciting social calendar. The warmth that had defined our intimacy slowly cooled, replaced by a polite, almost detached coexistence. I tried to address it gently, repeatedly. "Is everything all right, Liz? You seem distant. Is there something bothering you?" She'd brush me off, attributing it to stress from her demanding job, to the pressures of success, to my supposed overthinking. "Arthur, you worry too much. Everything's fine. I'm just busy. It's a demanding period in my career." I wanted to believe her. I desperately clung to the image of the woman I loved, the partner I trusted. I cooked her favorite meals, suggested quiet evenings, proposed couples therapy. She would agree to therapy, but then cancel at the last minute, citing urgent client meetings. The chasm between us widened with every passing day, every unanswered question. Then came the subtle hints of a desire for absolute control. She started suggesting that she should manage all the finances, given her expertise in high-end client dealings. "Mark, darling, you're so busy with your projects. Let me handle all the accounts. It will streamline things. I'm better with the big picture stuff now." I found it odd, given my meticulous nature and her previous disinterest in the nitty-gritty of budgeting. I politely but firmly declined, citing my comfort with our current arrangement. This refusal seemed to irritate her, adding another layer of unspoken tension to our strained relationship. The final, brutal blow came on a sunny Saturday morning, a day that started like any other. I woke up early, made coffee, and went for my usual morning run. When I returned, the house was eerily silent. Elizabeth was usually still asleep or just stirring, but her side of the bed was cold. Her closet door was ajar, and a suitcase was missing. My heart began to pound with a sickening dread. I knew, instinctively, that something was terribly wrong. I walked to the kitchen, my footsteps echoing in the silence. On the marble countertop, propped against the coffee maker, was an envelope. My name, in her elegant handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, plain white, with a few lines typed in a cold, impersonal font. Arthur, we're done. I can't do this anymore. Don't contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. I'll see you in court. Elizabeth. The words hung in the air, mocking me. We're done. Don't contact me. I'll see you in court. No explanation. No apology. No attempt at conversation, reconciliation, or even a basic human farewell after 3 decades. Just a cold, clinical declaration of war, delivered via a note, while she disappeared without a trace. It was the most cowardly, brutal, and humiliating ending imaginable. My book fell from my hands, crashing to the floor. The world went silent, then exploded into a deafening roar in my ears. 28 years. Just like that. Dismissed. Discarded. My mind reeled, trying to comprehend the absolute savagery of her actions. I felt a surge of nausea, a dizzying sense of disbelief. I wanted to scream, to smash something, to beg her to reconsider. But the note, so final, so devoid of emotion, conveyed an unshakable resolve. She was gone, and she had clearly planned this for a long time. She had already chosen her path, and I was merely a discarded obstacle. A profound stillness settled over me, a chilling calm that surprised even myself. My initial shock and grief quickly gave way to a surge of pure, unadulterated fury. Not the explosive, emotional kind that screams and throws things, but a deep, dangerous quiet. A calculated rage that sought not just an end to the marriage, but a rebalancing of the scales, a precise, strategic counterattack. Understood, I whispered to the empty room, a chilling promise to myself. My heart, however, was hammering against my ribs, a drumbeat of betrayal and burgeoning, lethal determination. The moment I processed the words, my analytical mind, the engineer in me, took over. My lawyer will contact you next week. That phrase was a flashing red light. It meant she had already consulted an attorney. It meant she had a plan, and that plan, I knew instinctively, involved our substantial shared assets. She, the assertive, financially ambitious individual, would undoubtedly try to walk away with a significant portion, if not most, of our accumulated wealth, leveraging my perceived emotional devastation and her calculated head start. She had meticulously built her career. I had meticulously built our shared wealth. She wanted to cut me out, financially, just as she had emotionally. This was a hostile takeover, a financial ambush. A cold, hard resolve solidified within me. If she wanted to play a strategic game, I was more than ready. I might not be a high-flying interior designer, but I was an engineer. I understood systems, vulnerabilities, and precise execution. And I knew our financial accounts better than she did, intimately every login, every password, every nuance of our investment portfolios. I had built those systems. I knew their weaknesses. I spent the rest of that Saturday, all of Sunday, and Monday morning in a silent, methodical frenzy. I worked from my home office, feigning a sudden, severe flu to avoid work and any inquisitive calls from friends or family. My focus was absolute, my emotions locked away in a steel box. My first move was to access all our joint online banking portals. I knew every password, every login. She, confident in her sudden declaration and her perceived upper hand, likely hadn't even thought to change them yet. Why would she? She thought she had the element of surprise, the victim's narrative already in play. I started with the most liquid assets. Our joint checking account, our joint savings account, our money market funds. Every single penny. I transferred it all, swiftly and silently, to a new account I had opened years ago, a small, personal account I used for my own hobby projects, one she knew nothing about, one that was completely off her radar. The transfers were quick, instantaneous. Notifications would eventually go to her email, which she would eventually see, but by then, it would be too late. The money would be gone, secured. Next, the investment portfolios. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, all under both our names, but largely managed by me based on my research and decisions. It took more time, more navigating through various brokerage platforms, confirming identities, processing multiple authentication steps. I initiated trades, systematically liquidating assets, then transferring the proceeds to my new secret account. This took a little longer, a few days for the transfers to clear, but it was all set in motion, irreversible. The house, our most significant asset, was jointly titled, and that would undoubtedly be a legal battle, a complex negotiation. But liquid cash, liquid investments, those could be moved with speed and precision before she had a chance to react, or her lawyer could issue any injunctions. I even accessed our shared utility accounts, the credit card accounts linked to our joint bank. I set up automated payments to ensure that all upcoming bills, mortgage, utilities, household expenses were covered from a separate, smaller fund I had squirreled away, one that she couldn't access, one that was completely off the grid. I didn't want to leave her completely destitute or affect our credit score negatively in the immediate aftermath, at least not yet. This wasn't about petty spite. It was about protecting myself, ensuring I maintained control, and making sure she couldn't claim I was being irresponsible or malicious. It was about controlling the narrative, controlling the assets, and meticulously orchestrating her eventual surrender. I didn't steal. I merely transferred. Everything was still technically ours at that moment, until a legal divorce decree declared otherwise. But I controlled where our money was held, and she no longer had access. I was simply protecting our assets from a hostile takeover, from an unannounced financial assault. She wanted to play the victim? I would be the quiet architect of her downfall. The emotional toll during those 48 hours was immense, yet strangely numbing. I was functioning on pure adrenaline, a simmering, controlled rage, and an unshakable sense of purpose. My mind was a whirlwind of financial calculations, legal strategies, and horrifying, fragmented memories of our life together, now tainted by the bitter taste of her betrayal. I felt a deep, profound sadness for the end of my marriage, for the years I had invested, for the future that was now a shattered mosaic of broken promises. But the sadness was inextricably intertwined with a cold, hard anger at her audacity, her presumption that she could just walk away, leaving me emotionally and financially vulnerable. She thought she was strong. I would show her what true strength, true resolve looked like. On the second day, after I had confirmed all liquid transfers were complete, all funds secured in my new, untouchable accounts, I waited. I knew her lawyer would be making contact soon. I knew Elizabeth would soon realize the extent of my preemptive strike, the depth of my silent response. I pictured her, somewhere, logging into our joint accounts, her confident smile fading as she saw the zeros, the frantic calls to the bank, the dawning horror as she realized what I had done. The image brought a grim, satisfying smirk to my face. The silence from her was the greatest testament to my success. I waited, and then it happened. Not a call from a lawyer, not an email. It was a frantic, desperate pounding on my front door. It was exactly 48 hours, almost to the minute, after she had left that cold, brutal note. I opened the door cautiously, my heart thumping a cold, steady rhythm. There she stood, Elizabeth, but not the elegant, composed woman who had left me the note. This was a disheveled, frantic stranger. Her hair was a mess, her eyes red and puffy, her face streaked with tears and smeared makeup. She looked utterly distraught, utterly broken. "Arthur," she shrieked, her voice hoarse, raw with desperation. "What have you done? My accounts. They're empty. All of them. What have you done with our money?" I simply stood there, silent, my face a mask of stone. I offered no comfort, no explanation, no flicker of the warmth that once defined us. I merely observed her collapse. "I need access to the funds. My lawyer is furious. She says I can't even pay her retainer. Arthur, please. This isn't funny." She took a step towards me, her hands reaching out, but I instinctively recoiled, a movement barely perceptible. "You said don't contact me," I said, my voice calm, flat, devoid of emotion. a chilling echo of her own words. You said I'll see you in court. So here I am, waiting for your lawyer to contact mine. Her eyes widened, filled with dawning horror and a flicker of comprehension. She realized I had used her own words, her own tactics against her. But the money, Arthur, it's gone. You emptied everything. How could you, Elizabeth? I countered, my voice sharp, unforgiving, finally letting the accumulated bitterness spill out. How could you leave a cold note after 30 years? How could you abandon our home, our life, our future, without a word, without a fight? How could you presume to walk away with half of everything, without any discussion, any decency? You declared war, Elizabeth. I merely responded. I protected what was mine, what was ours. You wanted to see me in court. Well, now you'll have to find a way to pay for it. She stumbled back, as if I had physically struck her. Arthur, please. I need money. I can't even pay my mortgage on the apartment I rented. I'm ruined. That sounds like a personal problem, Elizabeth, I replied, mirroring the coldness she had shown me in her note. Perhaps you should have thought about those things before you decided we're done. I certainly did, in the 48 hours after your declaration. I let the silence hang for a moment, a heavy blanket of unspoken consequences of shattered expectations. Have a good evening, Elizabeth. My attorney will be in touch with my formal proposal. I suggest you find a way to secure legal representation that can handle the reality of your current financial situation. And then, quietly, firmly, I closed the door on her. I heard her choked sob, then the sound of her retreating footsteps fading into the night. The aftermath was a brutal, protracted legal battle for her. My lawyer, Mr. Davies, armed with my meticulous financial tracking and the undeniable evidence of her initial declaration, systematically dismantled her claims. Elizabeth tried to argue that I had stolen the money, but I had merely transferred it within jointly owned accounts before any legal order of separation was filed. It was a legally gray area, but the swiftness and precision of my actions, coupled with her initial aggressive abandonment, put her at a severe disadvantage. She had no proof of malicious intent on my part, only her own impulsiveness. Her original law firm, Rebecca Hayes, eventually dropped her as a client, unwilling to pursue a case with such a weak financial standing and questionable tactics. She struggled to find new representation. Her carefully constructed world, built on appearances, a facade of success, and a presumed easy divorce, crumbled before her eyes. She ended up with a fraction of what she had initially expected, a pittance compared to her previous lifestyle. She had to sell her separate investment properties at a significant loss to cover her mounting legal fees and personal debts. She lost her prestigious job, unable to cope with the stress and the tarnished image of her public breakdown. Her social circle, once so vibrant, dissipated. The word spread quickly about her financial ruin and her desperate situation. I, on the other hand, slowly rebuilt. The financial impact on me was significant, primarily due to legal fees, but I had secured the vast majority of our assets. The emotional scars, however, were deep. Trusting again, truly trusting, felt impossible. But I learned to be self-sufficient in a way I hadn't been since before the marriage, perhaps ever. I invested in myself, picked up old hobbies, reconnected with friends who had seen through Elizabeth's superficiality from the start. I found a quiet peace in my ordered, independent life. Sometimes, I hear through the grapevine that Elizabeth is struggling, that her life is a mess. I feel no joy, no schadenfreude, only a cold, detached sense of I told you so, and a deep, profound sadness for the woman she became. She thought she could walk away, leaving me emotionally and financially devastated. But I showed her that underestimating the quiet, methodical man she married was the biggest mistake of her life. My wife left a note saying, "Don't contact me. I'll see you in court." I responded, "Understood." Then I transferred everything to a new account. 3 days later, her lawyer begged to renegotiate. And in that moment, I realized that true power in a confrontation isn't about grand pronouncements, but about quietly preparing for the inevitable and executing with chilling, precise speed. It was a hard lesson for both of us, but one that ultimately secured my future.